Hello everyone, my name is Akali and I am a somatic therapist as well as a wellness coach. What I'd like to talk about today is this is something I kind of consider a bit of a modern conundrum. This is a big issue that we've been dealing with for a while, but we're going to be dealing with at a much more intense rate in the future. Um, I think if you look around the world right now, I think what you're seeing, particularly in major cities, is neuroses. People are neurotic. People are losing their minds, and which makes me think about something that goes back to a speech I heard the Dalai Lama do back in the early 2000s. He, in this speech, again, I don't remember necessarily the context of the speech, but I remember one of the questions that happened after the speech. Somebody asked him, what do we need the most in this coming age, which is the age of Aquarius? He said discernment. We've moved into a very interesting time. Yogi Bhajan also talks about this age, and he says that there's nowhere to hide in this age. Information is everywhere, constantly coming in. This information is coming in on wavelengths that I would consider non-native frequencies. Wi-Fi, 5G, 4G, 3G, doesn't matter. These are non-native frequencies. These are not frequencies we've evolved to utilize, to deal with. But there's something else happening. We have cosmic frequencies coming in. We have frequencies of the planet. So the question is, this discernment process that the Dalai Lama was talking about, was it just about information? No, it was about choosing which frequency you want to attune to. Certain frequencies are discordant. These discordant frequencies are often connected to sort of undesirable emotional states, depression, anxiety, panic, etc. Now, these undesirable emotional states, these frequencies, they affect every single cell in your body. Make no mistakes about it. Are you a victim of these frequencies coming in? No. You're only a victim if you choose not to utilize what you've been born with, what is innate to being a human being. So what do we got going for us? How do we liberate ourselves from these non-native frequencies, from these neuroses, these emotional states? Their emotions are being jerked around in all different directions right now. There's so much going on in the world right now, and it's so incredibly confusing. And again, the more you pay attention to this information, I'm not suggesting in any way you turn your back on what's relevant. But we need tools. We need tools from which we can find objectivity. If we can find objectivity, we can start making decisions. So this objectivity is gained only when we can slow down our resonance, our frequency, through centering. So what do we anchor into? Well, you can take a walk in the woods. That's a great way to kind of connect to nature. Don't forget, we are part of nature. We are of this planet. Our physical form is connected to this planet. So we need to be in harmony with the planet, not with the non-native frequencies. So as life events start to come in, you start to get jerked around emotionally, you start freaking out and having paranoia and fear about all these different possible things you can be fearful about. Just make no mistake about it, if you're watching, particularly mainstream media, you're probably terrified. And that's your choice. The reality is you don't have to be. The reality is whether you are terrified or not doesn't change the situation in the outside world directly. Indirectly, it does. The more and more of us who stay centered, the more and more of us who are present, the more and more of us who are carrying a more grounded frequency, the more it starts to impact the overall, the whole. So centering and objectivity are, like I said, are incredibly important because it's through the objectivity that we're able to access that space of discernment that the Dalai Lama was talking about. The space of discernment happens when you can center. The centering, again, is the physical body. So if you're centered, if you're objective, you can see this emotion rise. You can see that thought arise. Because again, the thoughts and the emotions that you're holding are going to be held in your field. Kind of karmically speaking, what that ends up doing is you start to attract and pull life towards you. So again, is there a choice in terms of what you attract? I'm not going to say there is. What I'm going to say is that there's something innate you're here to attract. It's kind of like you're placed on this earth to have fulfill a destiny, so to speak. Your only responsibility is to be present, to see how the bigger picture is flowing through you. You can't do that without being centered. You can't do that without being objective, because there's a quiet voice that's here to guide us, and that's your intuition. If you can't see the intuition, you can't make proper choices. I'll give you a good example. It's kind of a lame example, but it's all I can think of at the moment. Let's say you're going to go buy a car. And again, you can extrapolate this out through, the news, elections, pandemics, all sorts of things in which there are narratives and counter-narratives. Narratives and counter-narratives are simply an expression of the polarities that are inherent to life on this planet. There just so happens to be certain narratives that we are being steered away from through censorship. Does it mean those narratives are correct or wrong? No. That's up to you to discern. Again, discernment. And the only way we can discern that is through the intuition. Because, going back to the car analogy that I started, is you're going to go buy a car, whatever model and make, it doesn't matter. And let's say you're trying to compare two different cars. Hey, this car over here has these features, but it doesn't have these features. This car over here does have those features, but doesn't have these features. So here's the issue. You can talk yourself into this car or that car, or you can talk yourself out of that car or this car. In other words, you're stuck in polarity. You're in the intellect. And the intellect is a beautiful thing. It's here to show us this or that. It's not good for decision making. Because the decision has to be made from a deeper place. Intuition. Intuition is very quiet. If you're full of emotional, mental commotion and clutter and noise, you can't hear it, you can't feel it. This age, according to Yogi Bhajan, one of my teachers, it's about the human sensory system. It's about intuition. And the age of Aquarius gets described as being the it's about the information age and this and that, which, yeah, there's a lot of information and knowledge coming in, but it's not about being engaged and indulged in that information. It's about being able to discern that information. Because what the intuition is here to do, it's here to align the ego, the personality, with the soul's expression. And the soul, subconscious, is connected to the bigger picture. It's a bit like, even being caught up in world affairs, that's the minutia, right? If you really are a broad thinker, you want to connect to the universe. The only way to do that, to align with that, to align with spirit, the universe, whatever you want to call it, God, that's through your intuition, through spirit, through the energy as it's flowing through you and out. We shine from the inside out. So, the other things that this will do is this changes your vitality of your body. In this age, particularly early on here, we're going to have a lot of struggle. There's a lot of struggle. There's a lot of not only information coming in that's jerking around our emotions, which then affects our digestion. Let's say you have panic, anxiety, fear. These will inherently affect how you digest food. When I was studying to be a personal trainer, got my master's in exercise physiology, undergrad in kinesiology, all this information, it was amazing how much emphasis they placed on diet and on like exercise and diet. But never once did we ever talk about, let's say, how we inhabit our form. Are we overly identified with our emotions? Are we overly identified with our thoughts? Because these are the true keys to wellness. Obviously, you need to eat well. Obviously, you need to exercise. And obviously, those things are important because those do affect how the physical body functions. If you're eating correctly, then if you're getting a good amount of exercise, your body is vital, then what you end up feeling is you feel a little more calm or a little more at ease. You can sit in meditation longer, etc. So again, what you want to look out for here is the chronic emotions that are being stimulated by today's culture. These chronic emotions are jerking us around. And again, we're not victims of this. You're only a victim if you choose to be that victim. You have the tools, everything you need innately. That's this, the body. That's recognizing objectively your thoughts and your emotions. So how do we do this? I mentioned meditation ad nauseum already. Meditation's hard for people. I get it. To move about life with awareness constantly, to be mindful, difficult. Some people do it easier than others, I get it. However, one of the best ways to do this is through, how do I describe it? Having multiple contact points with the physical body. Again, the physical body is our native frequency. If you're in your head, you're tuning into the frequencies of information, of 5G, 4G, Wi-Fi, whatever it is. And again, all that affects every cell in your body. What's the most powerful influence on your physical body? It's you, the personality, and how you inhabit this form. So I'm going to walk you through a quick exercise. This exercise, it's kind of my default exercise if I'm on a trip or something like that, and I can't remember any other practices to do, even though it was tons of them. But I got this practice from Kundalini Yoga. Kundalini Yoga and Taoism work really well for me because oftentimes these exercises pull you deeper into your form. They're not out here, you're not out in your head. You're not doing mental visualizations of which are out here in the form, right? Not in the form, but in the ethers, so to speak. Not to say visualizations aren't important, because you'll notice that if you do visualizations, oftentimes your body doesn't interpret it any different. If you visualize fire in your mind's eye, your body may actually get warm. However, it oftentimes is difficult to even steady your thoughts to visualize something. Again, if you're resonating at a frequency that is non-native. So this exercise, it's a breath practice. Let me lower the camera a little bit. So what you're going to do is I'm going to walk you through step by step. And again, what we're doing, it's a bit like a suture. We're suturing the ego, the personality, into the form, into the body, connecting to the subconscious, to the soul, and ultimately to spirit, energy, God, the universe, infinity, whatever you want to call it, as it flows through you and out of you. 1, tip of the nose. Eyes go to the tip of the nose. First step. Now, one way you can do this is you can look up and to the left, take a deep inhale, because oftentimes I know it's hard to bring your eyes to the tip of the nose. Look up and to the left, inhale breath, retain the breath, then roll your eyes to up and to the right. Retain the breath. Roll your eyes directly up. Retain the breath. Then exhale. Roll the eyes down to the tip of the nose. Step 1. 2, fingertips. Again, this is about balancing the tattvas. I think that's T-A-T-V, anyway, T-A-T-V-A-S-S, V-A-S, anyway. I'll try to put a link down below the video. But balancing each of the tattvas, or the elements. Again, earth, air, fire, water. Each of the fingertips represents an element. So we're going to bring the fingertips together, held at the level of the solar plexus. Now the solar plexus is, so here's the sternum, I have my chest here, my belly here. Somewhere in between. So between the chest and the navel. Fingers are spread wide, held out from the body slightly. Again, feeling and sensing each one of these places, because that's the suture. That's how you're sewing things up. That's how you're bringing everything together. And you know, suture, I think, is a good term because there's something called a sutra. So as you're holding, you got the fingertips here. So you got the eyes at the tip of the nose. You have the fingertips touching. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, now we have the breath pattern. So something else to keep in mind before I continue rambling is breath. So let's say you prefer mantra. Mantra is a form of breath, just so you know. As you're talking, you're exhaling, right? As you're making a sound, you're exhaling. And again, so this is another way in which you can center. You have to slow down the frequencies, the vibrations of your thoughts and your emotions so that you can be still. If you can be still, you can see, you can feel and sense your intuition. So, eyes at the tip of the nose, fingertips touching, fingers spread wide. Now the breath is inhaling through the nose. I like to inhale through my brow point. So I inhale through the nose or bring my awareness, sense of feeling to the brow point. Inhaling through brow point, bring the awareness down to the space below the navel, about 2 fingers below the navel, 2 to 3 fingers, approximately your belt line. So inhaling down, retain the breath for 1, sa, S-A, ta, T-A, na, N-A, ma, M-A. And again, this just so happens to be each one of the fingertips, excluding the thumb. So I like to bring my sense of feeling to each one of the fingertips while I'm mentally reciting sa, ta, na, ma, right? So again, I'm mentally feeling these. I move them just for demonstration purposes, but you want to just hold it like so, sa, ta, na, ma. Again, mentally reciting. So that's with the breath retained. Now to exhale, you're going to exhale in 8 segments from the center part of the mouth. Your cheeks may even like puff out a little bit. 8 times, right? So you're going to exhale 8 times. Each one of these times you exhale, you're pulling in your belt line a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit more, right? So you're pulling in your navel point inward and upward slightly towards your spine. Again, each one of those 8 segments out of the mouth. Again, bringing your awareness, your sense of feeling to the center part of the mouth while you're doing this. Pulling in the belt line. Again, can you see the suturing? Can you see how you're knitting together your ego, your personality, through all this feeling and sensing back into the body? This is true mind-body integration. And again, Kundalini Yoga, Taoism, and many, many other systems have a ton of different ways to go about doing this. So again, after you exhale all 8 segments, then you simply inhale and you repeat. So it's inhale, let me walk you through it one more time. Inhale, brow point, retain the breath, sa, ta, na, ma. Exhale, 8 segments, out the lips. Pulling in the belt line with each one of those segments. You should be completely out of air by the end of that. And then you just, again, that's the exercise, right? And at the end, to finish the exercise, you inhale, retain the breath, 10 to 20 seconds. Exhale, relax. Now you go into meditation. You are now centered. You've lowered your frequency back down into the physical form, into the body itself. So now you're resonating at a calmer level, at a calmer rate. And when you're in this calm space, this calm state of being, you can objectively see the emotions. You can objectively see the thoughts. And you are no longer victim. You're no longer subject to those thoughts and feelings. And this is the truth about the age that we've moved into. It's your choice to be a victim or not. So finally, let's talk about the mindset a little bit. I don't want to talk about it too much. So obviously, when you're centered and you're in meditation, you're just simply objective and you're kind of witnessing and experiencing. So how do we bring something into the sacred into this? And I think I alluded to this earlier in this video. The sacred, as I perceive it, is your connection to the bigger picture. How do I bring my ego, my personality, into connection with the bigger picture? And for me, it's always been really simple. What I do is I don't remember who it was. Maybe it was Aristotle or Plato or Einstein or some brilliant historic thinker that said something along the lines of, there was all I know is I know nothing. There was something like there's more that we do not understand about the universe than what we do understand. And again, these are really good expressions for the fact that there's a much, much, much bigger, play happening than what we're actually aware of. And so for me, that requires faith, right? Faith is my word. I connect to faith, and it's faith, that spirit, because this is not about faith in something outside of yourself, right? Remember that. The sacred here is faith in that the spirit, as it flows through your form, again, we shine from the inside out. You connect to that through your intuition, through your meditation, through your centering. And when you connect to that, you're guided in life. You will be provided for. And that is true prosperity. So with all that said, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.